Now we're to the point in the process where we can begin adding a little more detail to the face. And to do that, I think what I want to do first is add an edge loop around the eye and also add an edge loop around the mouth. These areas have very long, kind of stretched out polygons here and up here. I just want to get an edge loop through those so we can control the shape a little bit better. Before I do that, let me go to the front view here, and I'd like to get this eye opening a little bit more circular. Now, we could go back to our loop tools. I'm going to turn off proportional editing tool, but that's going to change the placement of the points a little bit too much for my taste at this point in time. I just want to do a little bit of pulling around to see if I can get these in a little bit more circular pattern here. And once again, this is what has to be done. You've got to just kind of work on the shapes, get it the way you like it before you move on to another part in the process. And I think I'm going to take these and try and close that gap right there. Just pull these back just a little bit. Just trying to refine the shapes. Maybe I'll take this and move it out so it's in line with that just a little bit more. There we go. So it's just a little bit more rounded so it fits around the eyeball just a little bit better. That's all I really wanted, something like that. Okay, so now that we have those in place, let's go ahead and add that edge loop. I'll press Control R, hover over an edge and then click again. And I'll do that down here too around the mouth. Control R, and let's add an edge right there too. Now we've got some more points here that we can play with. If we tab into object mode, not a lot has changed here when we added those edge loops because we've added them as part of the overall existing pattern. And what I mean by that is if we go to face mode here, I'll press Alt and click this edge. You can see that loop of faces there, and Alt Shift click here. Let's do another one here. So you can kind of see the pattern we've created here. I'll add another one here, and another one here, and another one here. So this is the general pattern that we were going for from the very beginning, and that's why we created and drew those polygons out in 2 dimensions before we pulled them out into 3 dimensions. Because this pattern simulates the muscles of the human face, and therefore when it deforms when animating, it just is more believable. All right, I think also what I want to do is select these points right up here, and I'm going to pull these down toward the eye to kind of match this distance down here. And to do that, I'm going to slide these points along those edges. And to slide a point or an edge, you can press G 2 times. So I'll hit G twice, and then we can slide those down along the existing edges, kind of like that. There we go. Yeah, so I think that's going to work pretty well. From here, we can always continue to refine the shape of the face. If I hit the O key to go to proportional editing mode, I can press G and Y and begin to kind of pull out the cheeks a little. Maybe pull some of these back like this. So we want the character to be, you know, curvy and cartoony. At least that's what I'm going for. So I'll maybe move this back a little bit. I think I'd like to pull this one out just a bit. I'm going to turn off proportional editing and hit G and Y and just kind of pull that out a bit. Maybe pull this out. And this is just to try and get those cheeks puffed up just a little bit here. Something like that. Let's see how we're doing. Yeah, so that's all we want. It's just a little bit more puffiness to the cheeks here. All right, now I think, as I said in the previous video, let's begin working on the ears. For the ears, let's turn on the reference images here, and let's see where the ears are placed, at least in the drawings. I'm going to tab into edit mode and press Alt-Z so we can see this. And the way the drawing is here, those ears are pretty far back. If I press Alt-Z and take a look at that, that's a little too far back for the ears, I think, at least for the 3D character. And this is an example of what I mean by ultimately we're going to have to move beyond the 2D drawing and do what's right for the 3D character itself. We could maybe move the ears up to here. Well, I think maybe I'm going to turn off the images now. I think I maybe move them right up to here. Yeah, I think even here may be a little bit too far back. So I think I'm going to create the ears here. So what let's do is let's begin by just extruding. Let's hit E and click, and then I'm going to pull out in the x-axis here. And then I think I'll do that again. I'm going to hit E and click and pull out again. So I've got kind of a cross pattern here in the center of the ear. Now we need to go through and begin arranging these points and edges to get the right shape that we want for the ear. You can, of course, go back and take a look at the reference images. I'm certainly not saying you have to just throw them aside by any means. They are here to help. But you can, let me go to vertex mode, begin branching out without them as well. I'm going to grab these points and hit G and move them up. All I did was hit the B key to border select a few points. And this works best in X-ray mode here. I've hit Alt-Z to get here. And I'll begin bringing some of these edges, these vertices around here, like this. All right, now let's see how we're doing. Okay, I think we're doing okay, but what I'd like to do is move these edges back a bit. So these edges I feel like could come back. Our ears kind of lay flat on our head, and I'd like to get some of that here. I'll hit the 1 key and move this vertex back. Now let's add another extrusion here, and to do that, instead of hitting extrude, I'm going to use the inset faces, and that's right over here. It is, inset faces. You can see it's the I key for the shortcut. So what I'm going to do is go back to face mode with the 3 key and select these 4 faces here, and I'll hit I, and then I'll just push in like this. All right. Now I'm going to bring it over to this side a bit, and now we need to go through and just push and pull some points to get it to the way we want. I think we've got enough geometry in there now. We just need to move some points around to get it the way that we'd like it. So what I'm going to do is move some points around, and I think I could also increase the viewport levels over here while we're doing this, just to get a better sense of how the curves are happening. So maybe I'll grab this point and move this up, and so it's just a matter now of moving points around, trying to get them in the shape that you want. I'll move these out so we get a little more of a curve there to the earlobe. Maybe I'll move this out a bit. You can see we've got kind of a crease here. We don't want that, so I'll move it out. The farther away you move the points, the more smooth the transition between those 2 points are. So you can always move them apart to fix any creasing. So I'm going to get these points kind of close to the head over here. And then these points we can kind of pull out to get more of a puffy earlobe. Maybe these can come down a bit. This can go in and up. Let's try that. So I'm just playing around. Honestly, I'm just moving points around until I get, just a shape that looks good, a shape that is kind of something I have in my head that I'm trying to shoot for here. Let's try this. If I tab back into object mode, this is what we have so far. I feel like it's too flat on the top and maybe a little bit too much going on in the center there. So I can grab this edge up here and maybe round that out. Maybe this edge and round that out. So it's just a matter of pushing and pulling to try and get that ear cartoony and rounded. Let's see how we're doing here. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. Almost a Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs kind of ear shape there. And that's good. That'll be good for this particular character, I think. There we go. All right, we've got our ears in and we've got those extra edge loops around the eyes and the mouth. In the next video, let's begin working on the inside of the mouth.